What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest edition, the June 29th, 2020 edition of Raw Talk, as it aired immediately after Raw on the WWE Network. We were back with Samoa Joe this week after he took the week off last week for unexplained reasons. MVP was cool as a host. I thought he did well in the role, but we were back with Samoa Joe, and I could not have been happier that Samoa Joe is on the show. Not only did he make it more entertaining, but his interaction with the Iconics alone at the end was what made this episode worth seeing. Like, I cannot recommend you enough to go out of your way to see Samoa Joe trying the iconic catchphrase at the end of this episode. Banks and Bayley were on. They were fun. The Viking Raiders were on again. I completely forgot they were actually on the show a couple of weeks ago for the debut episode earlier this month. That might as well have been like a year ago at this point, but it was only 4 weeks ago. They were on. They did well in their few minutes on the show. And the Iconics I don't really care for too much, but their interaction with Joe, who they must be close with during their time, like from their time in NXT and whatnot, was amazing. It was priceless. So, like, it was just, I'll talk about that soon enough. But, like, seriously, it was better than anything, not only on Raw Talk itself, but even Raw. Even Raw, the episode that preceded this episode of Raw Talk. I thought last night's Raw was fine. Not terrible, but definitely not one of the stronger episodes, in my opinion, in recent memory. Didn't feel like it flew by really at all. But I thought this episode of Raw Talk, and specifically the final 5 minutes or so, really made my Monday. I mean, I watched it today, but it was the best thing you'll see all week. So they bring on Sasha Banks and Bayley first, as Sasha Banks, fresh off her victory over Asuka in the main event of Raw in that mixed tag team match, where she pinned Asuka, so she and Dolph Ziggler beat the duo of Asuka and Drew McIntyre. She vows to beat Asuka again, this time for the Raw Women's Championship at Extreme Rules, the horror show, fuck that shit, next month, which actually is actually tomorrow. July 1st is tomorrow, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So they celebrate beating Asuka on Raw. They replay the footage. Bayley talks about how she's beaten everyone more than once, including Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans, and she's not wrong. She has beaten everyone more than once, including Sasha Banks. Not recently on SmackDown, you have to go all the way back to their NXT days, but she has beaten Sasha Banks not once but twice in high-profile matches on takeovers. But yeah, in recent months, though, as the SmackDown Women's Champion, she's already beaten Nikki Cross a bunch of times. She's beaten Alexa Bliss many, many times, dating back to their feud in 2017. She's beaten Naomi multiple times. She's beaten everybody multiple times. So really the only option left is Sasha Banks at SummerSlam, which they're probably hopefully saving for SummerSlam and no longer than that. I know people are saying, oh, their current tag team is great, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is that there is literally no one left to face Bayley in that SmackDown Women's division. Even Carmella's been beaten multiple times by Bayley, at least once. There's no other person to contend for that championship at this point, including Nikki Cross, except for Sasha Banks. Even Nikki Cross has been there, done that. I have no interest in that match. It could be a good match, but we've seen it before. Nikki Cross has failed. She's going to fail again. It's time for Sasha Banks to pick up the victory, or at least go for the championship at SummerSlam. But anyway, so Charlie asks them, how are you going to celebrate becoming dual champions at Extreme Rules if Bayley retains and Sasha Banks walks out the new Raw Women's Champion? They said they want statues of themselves at the Performance Center, and that winning at Extreme Rules for both of them would prove that they are the best for the last 8 years, dating back to their NXT days. So then Charlie and Samoa Joe welcome on the Viking Raiders to talk about how they've dominated the last year on the main roster, dating back to their NXT tenure, and no one has been more dominant despite the recent setbacks against the the Street Profits and Angel Garza and Andrade earlier in the night on Raw. No one has been more dominant in the last year on any tag team division, in any show, than the Viking Raiders. They said that Andrade and Garza actually cheated to beat them earlier on in the show, kind of protecting them in defeat. They never mentioned that Andrade and Garza had their fucking asses handed to them later on in the show by Big Show, but we'll just forget that ever happened, I guess. And they just said, in terms of what's next for them, they just said things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen, probably to their opponents. And then they kind of go off in a joking mood, and Eric talks about wanting to challenge Montez to a sword fight. And I still kind of get them confused, Eric and Ivar. I knew Hanson. I knew it was Warbeard, Hanson. What were their names before? Hanson and I don't remember what Eric's name was. I don't remember, but I don't really know their names now, but I know that Eric, I think, is the bald one, and the one that has hair that all the girls have been hitting on for the last couple weeks in these Raw skits is Ivar. But so it was Eric, Sarah Logan's husband, that said that he wanted to challenge Montez to a sword fight. Probably not what you're thinking. Hopefully, thankfully, not what you're thinking, but just based off their previous skits on Raw in the last couple of weeks. And Ivar says, not everyone can be as handsome as I am, going off the whole running gag that all the women have been hitting on him in the recent skits on Raw. And then they kind of poke fun at Eric's looks, and which is probably for the best, because if all the girls were hitting on Eric, I don't think Sarah Logan, his real-life wife, would be too happy. Despite the fact that she was recently released by the company, I don't think she'd be too thrilled by that. So Charlie Caruso actually spoke up about that. They were kind of dunking on Angel Garza a little bit, and Ivar. He actually brought up, he's like, yeah, I'm more handsome than Angel Garza. I'll show him that. I don't know if that's leading to an Ivar-Angel Garza match on Raw or whatever. But Charlie Caruso spoke up. She's like, watch how you talk about Angel Garza, because we have never mind, or whatever. She didn't really go into great depth, but obviously she's referring to how, they've been kind of doing this angle for a while now in the last couple of months on Raw with Charlie Caruso pretending that she's infatuated by Angel Garza. Completely stupid. I think the whole thing is dumb, but they actually incorporated it into Raw Talk here. I just kind of rolled my eyes. So thankfully, then they bring on the Iconics. And again, it's not that this is worth watching for the Iconics, and they're fine. I'm not their biggest fans. I just find them completely intolerable in the main roster. But Samoa Joe makes this bit amazing. So as soon as they come on, he does the Iconic, and he does it so terribly that they make fun of him for it. It's just the way that he plays off the guests is just amazing, specifically the Iconics. But they bring up how they've had bad blood with Ruby Riott dating back to their NXT days. And which I completely forgot about, and they're right. Peyton and Billy actually traded wins with Ruby Riott back in NXT 3 years ago. And I forgot what it led to, probably Ruby just getting her win back or whatever. That was pre-Riot Squad, so she had no backup at the time. It probably led to her teaming with Ember Moon or some shit, I don't remember. But yeah, they've been feuding on and off for a long time now. Their plan is just to win, and they won't give away any strategy. They do say that they're big on all the social media platforms right now, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. And then Charlie asks them for tips on how to do the iconic catchphrase. And they say you got to be fearless and you got to pop your shoulders. So Charlie and Joe then try. Charlie's is terrible. Joe's is just laugh out loud funny. It's amazing. And really, you have to go out of your way to watch it. It just kills me every time going back to watch it now. They do call themselves the greatest tag team of all time, kind of going back on what Bayley and Sasha have been saying recently on SmackDown, despite the fact they lost to Sasha and Bayley recently on Raw. But they do call themselves the greatest tag team, and Sasha and Bayley, they kind of go off on tag teams that have been best friends for 6 months, and they kind of mention how they think they're the best. Well, Sasha and Bayley have been very good friends for 8 years now. Not nearly as long as the Iconics, who have been friends for, as they say, 16 years, dating back to 2005, but that's still a long time. Charlie actually recommended the next time they come on the show, they do a friendship quiz. And the way Samoa Joe just acts annoyed every single time they talk is just, again, amazing. It's just the little things that Samoa Joe does that makes this episode incredibly entertaining. Then they go off the air by pointing out that there's sweat on Charlie Caruso's shirt, which I don't think anyone really know. I couldn't really pick out what they were talking about. Maybe it was off frame, I don't know. But they kind of bully her as they go off the air, which was funny. So again, I'm not a big Iconics guy, but I thought that was hilarious. Again, the final 5 to 7 minutes with the Iconics, and thankfully they lasted longer than anyone else on this episode. The Raiders were fine. Banks and Bayley were just way too over the top, but I guess that's, I know that's their gimmicks and whatnot. They were fine. But this stuff with Samoa Joe and the Iconics was incredible. So go out of your way to check that out. This episode of Raw Talk for June 29th, 2020. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the videos. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Check out the description box down below for more Raw Talk reviews right here on the channel. And tomorrow we're going to be doing #AskGSM, so stay tuned for that as well. Until next time, guys, have a great one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.